Imagine you're standing completely alone on an open African savanna. 2 million years ago, the sun has disappeared below the horizon. Only a faint orange glow remains in the distance. A few minutes ago, you could see everything around you. Tall grass, nearby trees, your family, the path back to camp. Now, almost everything has vanished. The world hasn't changed. Only the light has. Suddenly, the silence feels different. You hear something moving through the grass. Maybe it's only the wind. Maybe it isn't. You freeze. Your breathing becomes slower. Your heartbeat becomes louder. Every muscle tightens. Your eyes search desperately, but they find nothing. Your brain immediately begins asking the most important question of all. What can I see? That question may have saved your ancestors' lives millions of times. Today, most of us know that we're safe inside our homes. We lock our doors, turn on lights, check our phones. And yet, many people still feel uneasy when every light goes out. Some avoid walking through dark forests. Some hate empty hallways at night. Some adults still sleep with a small light on. Children often imagine monsters hiding beneath the bed or waiting quietly inside the closet. Why? Are humans simply afraid of darkness? Or is our brain remembering something much older than we realize? Tonight, we're traveling back through millions of years of evolution to discover why one of humanity's oldest fears still lives inside every one of us. For nearly all of human evolution, there were no cities, no flashlights, no streetlights, no electricity. When the sun disappeared, darkness arrived completely. For our ancestors, night transformed the entire world. Vision, our most important sense, suddenly became unreliable. Objects disappeared. Landmarks vanished. Movement became difficult to detect. The same landscape that felt familiar during daylight could become completely unknown after sunset. And uncertainty has always been dangerous. Humans were never the strongest animals. We couldn't outrun most predators. We weren't the fastest. We weren't the biggest. We didn't have claws or powerful jaws. What we had was a remarkable brain. And that brain survived by detecting danger before danger arrived. The problem was, darkness removed information. When you can't see clearly, your brain doesn't become calmer. It becomes more alert, because missing a real threat was far more costly than becoming frightened for no reason. Evolution consistently rewards one mistake and punishes the other. Running away from the wind wastes energy. Ignoring a hidden predator can end your life. Our ancestors learned that lesson. Generation after generation, as the last light disappeared, the balance of power changed. Day belonged to humans. Night belonged to something else. Long before cities, long before civilization, Africa came alive after sunset. Lions became more active. Leopards left the trees. Hyenas began roaming across the plains. Snakes that had hidden from the daytime heat started hunting. Owls silently crossed the night sky. Every shadow could hide another hunter. Humans were never designed to dominate the darkness. Our eyesight performs remarkably well during the day, but compared to many nocturnal animals, it's surprisingly limited. Cats can gather several times more light than we can. Owls can locate tiny movements in near darkness. Many predators hear sounds far beyond human ability. Others can detect scent trails that remain completely invisible to us. When darkness arrived, the advantage shifted away from humans. Imagine trying to cross an open grassland. You hear footsteps. You stop walking. The sound stops too. You turn around. Nothing. Only darkness. Was it another person? A grazing antelope? The wind moving dry grass? Or a leopard crouching only a few meters away? You couldn't know. And that uncertainty was exactly the problem. Evolution never asked your ancestors to identify every threat perfectly. It asked something much simpler. Stay alive long enough to have children. If your brain assumed danger, when no danger existed, you lost a few minutes, perhaps a little energy. But if your brain ignored real danger, there might never be another sunrise. Natural selection repeatedly favored caution. Generation after generation, the individuals who reacted first often survived longer. Slow reactions disappeared. Fast reactions remained. Over hundreds of thousands of years, those tiny survival advantages accumulated, until eventually, the human brain became extraordinarily sensitive. Whenever visibility suddenly disappeared, darkness itself wasn't the enemy. Darkness simply removed the information our brains depended on most. This brings us to one of the most fascinating discoveries in modern neuroscience. Your brain isn't designed to seek certainty. It's designed to reduce uncertainty every second of your life. Your brain predicts what will happen next. It predicts where the floor is, how heavy a cup feels, what another person's face might express, what sound your footsteps should make. Most of these predictions happen automatically. You never notice them until something unexpected appears. Darkness interrupts those predictions. Suddenly, vision provides almost no reliable information. The brain loses one of its most important sources of evidence. But prediction doesn't stop. Instead, the brain starts filling in the missing pieces. Not because it's broken, because that's exactly what evolution built it to do. Imagine walking through your own house during daylight. You barely think about each room. You already know where everything is. Now imagine the electricity suddenly fails. The same hallway feels different. The same staircase seems unfamiliar. The same bedroom appears strangely larger. Nothing actually changed. Only the information reaching your brain changed. When information decreases, prediction increases. Sometimes, those predictions become surprisingly creative. A hanging jacket looks like a person. Tree branches become reaching hands. A pile of clothes appears to move. Your eyes aren't necessarily making mistakes. Your brain is trying to solve an impossible puzzle using incomplete information. From an evolutionary perspective, guessing wrong occasionally was often safer than guessing too late. If every strange shadow turned out to be harmless, you wasted a little attention. But if only one shadow contained a waiting predator, hypervigilance became a remarkably effective survival strategy. This is why many scientists believe our fear of darkness isn't irrational. It's the product of millions of years of statistical learning. Your brain has inherited ancient probabilities. Even if your modern bedroom contains nothing more dangerous than yesterday's laundry basket. Have you ever noticed that the smallest sound at night feels much louder? A floorboard creaks, a branch scratches the window, the house settles, somewhere outside, a dog barks. None of these sounds are unusual. Most of them happen every single night. So why do they suddenly feel important? The answer isn't inside your ears. It's inside your brain. Deep within the brain sits a small almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. For millions of years, the amygdala has acted like an early warning system. Its job isn't to decide whether something is definitely dangerous. Its job is to notice anything that might be dangerous. That difference matters because evolution rarely rewarded certainty. It rewarded speed. Imagine hearing an unfamiliar rustle behind you. Your conscious mind might eventually figure out it was only the wind. But your amygdala doesn't wait for certainty. It reacts first. Questions later. That's why your heart can begin racing before you even understand what you heard. Scientists sometimes describe this as a survival shortcut. Instead of carefully analyzing every possibility, the brain briefly assumes the worst. Only afterward does the thinking part of the brain begin checking the evidence. During daylight, vision quickly helps resolve uncertainty. You hear something. You look, you see a squirrel. Problem solved. But at night, vision often can't help. The uncertainty lasts longer, which means the alarm stays active longer. And something fascinating happens. Your brain begins reallocating attention. Less attention goes toward exploring. More attention goes toward detecting threats. Every small sound receives extra processing. Every unexpected movement feels significant. This heightened awareness has a name. Hypervigilance. It's not panic. It's preparation. Your nervous system quietly shifts into a state where it expects something important could happen at any moment. Your pupils widen. Your hearing seems sharper. Your muscles tighten slightly. Breathing becomes shallower. Your body starts conserving precious milliseconds. Because throughout human evolution, those milliseconds sometimes separated survival from becoming prey. What's remarkable is that this entire process often begins before you're consciously afraid. You don't decide to become alert. Your brain decides for you, long before your conscious mind joins the conversation. In many ways, fear isn't something you create. It's something evolution prepared, long before you were born. This also explains One of the oldest mysteries of childhood? Why are so many children afraid of monsters in the dark? After all, children know monsters aren't real, at least during the daytime. Yet once the lights go out, everything changes. A shadow becomes a giant. The open closet feels occupied. The empty hallway seems alive. For generations, adults have assumed children simply have vivid imaginations, and that's partly true. But neuroscience suggests something deeper is happening. A child's brain is still learning how to separate imagination from reality. The regions responsible for logical evaluation, especially parts of the prefrontal cortex, continue developing well into early adulthood. Meanwhile, the emotional systems of the brain, including the amygdala, become highly active much earlier. That creates an interesting imbalance. Emotions can become incredibly powerful before logical reasoning reaches full maturity. Now combine that with darkness. Remember, darkness removes information. When information disappears, prediction increases. Adults often fill those gaps with past experience. Children have much less experience to work with, so imagination naturally becomes one of the brain's prediction tools. The brain isn't deliberately inventing monsters, it's trying to explain incomplete information. A strange shadow, an unfamiliar sound, a moving curtain, a slowly opening door. The brain asks, what could possibly cause this? Sometimes, the answer becomes something imaginary, because an imaginary explanation feels better than no explanation at all. From an evolutionary perspective, this isn't necessarily a flaw. Young humans were among the most vulnerable members of prehistoric communities. Being naturally cautious may have increased their chances of surviving long enough to become adults. Today, parents switch on a bedroom light. The monster disappears instantly, not because the light defeated the monster, but because the brain finally received enough information to stop predicting one. Perhaps that's one of the most beautiful things about fear. Very often, the darkness never contained monsters. It simply contained questions, and the human brain has never enjoyed unanswered questions. For hundreds of thousands of years, night belonged to predators. Then, humans discovered something extraordinary: fire. At first, it was probably terrifying. Lightning struck dry grass, forests burned, animals fled, flames consumed everything in their path. But eventually, our ancestors noticed something remarkable. Predators stayed away. The darkness retreated. For the first time in evolutionary history, humans could carry daylight into the night. That changed everything. A campfire doesn't simply produce heat, it creates visibility. The unknown begins to shrink. The shadows become smaller. Faces become recognizable again. The brain starts receiving information. Instead of endless uncertainty, something fascinating happens inside the nervous system. The amygdala, which had remained highly alert throughout the darkness, can finally begin relaxing. Not because every danger disappears, but because the brain can see enough to evaluate what is happening nearby. Around the fire, people stop scanning every direction. They begin looking at each other. Voices replace silence. Conversations replace vigilance. Laughter replaces constant listening. For perhaps the first time each day, the human brain could spend long periods thinking about something other than immediate survival. Many anthropologists believe this simple change had enormous consequences. Families gathered together. Knowledge could be shared. Children learned from elders. Hunters planned tomorrow's journey. Stories emerged. Some researchers even suggest that language itself may have flourished around campfires, because darkness no longer forced everyone into silence. Instead, the night became a classroom, a theater, a meeting place, a home. One glowing fire created a small island of certainty. Inside an ocean of uncertainty, even today, think about how different a campsite feels. Once someone lights the fire, the forest hasn't changed. The sounds haven't changed. The night hasn't changed. Only one thing has: your brain suddenly has enough information to stop imagining what might be hiding everywhere else. Perhaps that's why humans still find campfires strangely comforting. The warmth matters. The light matters. But maybe our ancient brains remember something even deeper. For countless generations, fire didn't simply make the night brighter. It made survival possible. Today, most of us rarely experience true darkness. Cities glow all night. Streetlights illuminate roads. Phones become flashlights. Homes remain brightly lit. Objectively, we are safer than almost any humans who have ever lived. And yet, turn off every light. Walk alone through an unfamiliar forest. Stand inside an abandoned building. Or simply hear an unexpected sound. At 3 o'clock in the morning, something ancient wakes up. Your heart speeds up. Your breathing changes. Your attention narrows. Nothing dangerous may actually exist. But your brain doesn't know that yet, because evolution never updated the software. Our environment changed, far faster than our biology ever could. Electricity has existed for only a tiny fraction of human history. Cities are incredibly recent. Cars, phones, modern houses, they're all newcomers. Your brain isn't. The nervous system inside your head was largely shaped by problems faced hundreds of thousands of years ago. It still asks ancient questions. Can I see clearly? Where could danger hide? Do I have an escape route? Am I alone? These questions once kept our ancestors alive. Today, they sometimes activate inside perfectly safe situations. That's why a horror movie becomes scarier when watched in the dark. Why unfamiliar hotel rooms feel strange at night. Why a power outage immediately changes the atmosphere inside a house. The darkness didn't become more dangerous. Your brain simply lost information. And whenever information disappears, ancient survival systems quietly begin doing what evolution designed them to do. Not because they're outdated, but because, for millions of years, they worked extraordinarily well. So, are humans afraid of the dark? Not exactly. Darkness itself has never been the true enemy. The real enemy was uncertainty. For millions of years, darkness simply removed the information our ancestors needed to survive. And whenever information disappeared, the brain did exactly what evolution designed it to do. Predict, prepare, protect. That ancient system still lives inside you today. Every time you hesitate before entering a dark room. Every time you glance over your shoulder while walking alone at night. Every time your heart beats a little faster after hearing an unexpected sound. You're experiencing the work of a brain that has been refined across millions of years. Think about that for a moment. The smartphone in your pocket is only a few decades old. Electric lights have illuminated our nights for barely more than a century. Modern cities represent only the tiniest fraction of human history. But your brain carries instructions written across millions of years of evolution. It still expects darkness to hide uncertainty. It still assumes that missing information deserves attention. And in many situations, that's still a remarkably useful strategy. The same survival system that once helped your ancestors avoid predators now helps you notice unexpected movement while driving, detect unusual sounds inside your home, react quickly during emergencies. Ancient adaptations still protect modern lives. Of course, sometimes they become a little overprotective. A jacket hanging on a chair looks like someone standing in the room. A tree branch tapping against the window feels like someone knocking. A harmless shadow briefly becomes something far more threatening. Not because your brain is irrational, because it would rather investigate 100 harmless shadows than ignore the one that isn't harmless. Evolution has always preferred false alarms over missed dangers. Perhaps that's why, even after understanding all the neuroscience, many of us still feel a little different when every light goes out. Knowledge changes what we know. Evolution influences how we feel. And those two things don't always change at the same speed. In many ways, modern humans live in the future, but our brains still remember the past. The next time you turn off the lights and suddenly feel your senses become sharper, remember, you're not experiencing a weakness. You're experiencing one of the oldest survival systems ever built. A system that helped countless generations survive long enough for you to exist today. Darkness never really changed. Our ancestors did, and the remarkable brain they passed down to us still quietly watches the shadows. Just in case, if you enjoyed this journey into human evolution, subscribe to Sketching Humanity for more stories where archaeology, anthropology, neuroscience, and evolution come together to explain the ordinary things we rarely stop to question. And here's one final question to leave you with. If humans had evolved as nocturnal animals instead of daytime ones, would darkness still frighten us at all? Thanks for watching.